I was waiting the minute that report came out for what you would be writing about this, and I had some sense of the directions you would go. And in your piece for the New York Times, you point out that it's not really about tax law. There's a much bigger issue to consider here.
Well, what the ProPublica report, which is really heroic journalistic work, what it revealed is that not some kind of epidemic of lawbreaking, but in fact, a social contract built on madness, an insane social contract in this society in which most of you sitting at home on your sofa or in your bed watching this right now pay a significant portion of your income, a significant portion of the net increase in your wealth year to year to the government. And the richest people, the 25 richest in this case, as is revealed by this report, in many years pay literally zero in income taxes, literally in dollar terms, less than you, not as a proportion of their income. Some of them literally pay less in dollar terms than you. And others pay some amount, but as a fraction of their wealth increase, it's a ridiculous pittance. Warren Buffett's wealth went up $24 billion in the period the story talks about, 2014 to 2018. He paid $24 million in that time. That may sound like real money, but I think a lot of people watching this would love to pay one out of every $1,000 of their net increase in wealth to the government in taxes. Most people spend way higher than that. So we have to ask ourselves, why is it that we just continue to avoid taxing billionaires' real source of increased money, which is their wealth, not their income? And what anybody who works with billionaires, does accounting, will tell you is that billionaires can literally pick their income for any given year. They can go to their accountant and say, I'd like $1 of income. I'd like losses this year, the way Donald Trump always wanted losses. I'd like my income to be $11 million this year. And things can be rejiggered. They can not sell some things, do whatever they need to do. So it makes no sense to tax billionaires on their income. What we have to start in America getting ready for is taxing billionaires on their wealth.
And Elizabeth Warren has proposed that, and it was considered a radical proposal in the tax world when she first made that case. And every month since then, the case develops in her direction, in her favor. And it seems to me, and on this report, coupled with the richest man in the world deciding to get in his spaceship and go into space, is exactly what Elizabeth Warren needs in terms of pushing her wealth tax. When you have the richest man in the world deciding I'm going to take my spaceship and go for a ride into space, while you have the homeless population that you have in this country with nothing being done about it at the same time, those two stories appearing in the same newspapers on the same days, it seems like this is giving Elizabeth Warren some of the momentum she needs.
Look, Jeff Bezos may have work to do in space, and that is his right. But I and a lot of the rest of us have work to do down here on Earth. I don't want this democracy to die in gilded darkness, and it is at risk of doing so if it continues to slouch toward plutocracy, where we begin to take it for granted that most decisions are made according to whether they would be good for billionaires, whether we go after monopolies or not, whether we raise the minimum wage or don't, whether we have universal health care or don't, whether we end money in politics or don't. These are all decisions where doing the sensible democratic thing is actually quite popular, but there's this veto, this kind of backroom veto of the billionaire. And I think actually the Warren plan was important conversation starter. Bernie Sanders had a wealth tax also. No shade to either of them. They got an important conversation started, but both of their wealth taxes, neither crossing above the kind of 10% a year of your wealth threshold, neither of those wealth taxes would have actually shrunk these fortunes year to year, right? Because these folks earn returns well above 10%. Typically in a given year, right? So your $1 billion becomes $1.2 billion the next year and so on and so forth. So it's time to actually go beyond the Warren and Sanders tax plans on wealth and really start talking about an erosive wealth tax that would erode these fortunes year to year. So in the year 2022, these biggest fortunes would be smaller than they were in the year 2021.